What do digitalization, sustainability, and open innovation have in common? For many small and medium-sized enterprises today, these factors can determine whether they will thrive in the future or struggle to keep up. In today's podcast, we'll talk about what it actually means for a company to be ready for the future. The SMERF project focuses exactly on this question, helping SMEs understand where they stand in their transformation journey and what concrete steps they can take to move forward. In our conversation, we'll also explore insights gained from working with more than 160 companies across Central Europe and discuss the tools and inspiration that SMEs can use to guide their transformation. And so now it's my pleasure to welcome today's guest. My guest is the project manager and coordinator of the SMERF project, Dr. Joanna Helman from Wrocław University of Science and Technology. So, Joanna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Hi, hello, welcome everyone.
Hi. So, Joanna, what does it mean for an SME to be ready for the future?
So in our imagination of the companies that are ready for the future, these are the companies that are being able to adapt into the challenges of changing world, because our world is changing rapidly, but also the world of SMEs is changing. So SMEs need to be more agile in terms of digitalization, in adapting more innovations from the environment, from other companies. We are also, as the European countries and European SMEs, are forced to follow the, let's call it a green issue. So all of the aspects connected with being eco-friendly, with sustainability, and with other aspects. So the SMEs that are ready for a future for us are the companies that know what to do and what kind of challenges they can have. So they will slowly adapt to those changes that are already required or will be required in some short future, let's say.
Your project defines a future-ready SME across 4 pillars, actually. How would you explain these pillars to, let's say, non-technical audience, and why are they so crucial for small and medium businesses today?
Yes, so as you said, we have 4 pillars. The first pillar is the innovation culture. So each of the organization is having its own culture. The culture is the management, the people, how the people interact with each other, and so on. And what we want to check and what we want to encourage in companies is to have the culture of the company that will be focused on innovation, so that the companies will be eager to adapt innovation. So the employees will understand why the innovations are important. So this is not only how to make the innovations, but how to understand the innovations and how to implement them in our, let's say, daily business life in the firms or organizations. The second pillar is the digital manufacturing. So I think this is the most well-known and understood pillar. So in here, the companies should adapt or encourage to intake all of the digital solutions that are on the market. So it can be virtual reality, it can be some kind of artificial intelligence, it can be robotics, it can be automatics. So all of the things that are connected with manufacturing, but not the manufacturing like the old school way, but using the Internet of Things, using all of these digital solutions. Then our third pillar is the open innovation and sharing economy. So there is something like innovation, but there is also another concept that is called open innovation. In this concept, one company can use the other companies or people or the general public or the crowd to bring the ideas for the innovation to their companies, but to bring the ideas from outside of the company. So that's why it's called the open innovation. So the company is opening to create innovation with others. And also in this pillar, we have sharing economy. So this is connected with sharing issues. So sharing the resources, sharing the knowledge, sharing everything with others to create more convenience for the companies. And the fourth pillar is the green and circular economy, as well as sustainability. So in here we have everything that is connected with all of the eco-friendly issues, with reducing the carbon footprint, but also to adapting the technologies and also the solutions that will make your company more sustainable in terms of the, let's say, these green aspects. So these are, like, maybe in the easier way, the topics that we are focusing on, because we know that there are many companies, but they are not already know what kind of these four pillars are too. So this is a perfect question for explaining them what they could be ready in the future.
Perfect. And when an SME decides it wants to start its transformation journey within the SMERF supporting ecosystem, what exactly does the process look like, and how does the SMERF Diagnosis Tool actually work in practice?
Okay, so there are two options for the company. So the easiest way is just to go to our website, so our SMERF Diagnosis Tool that is available online, and settle the account and start the process of assessment. The other option is to connect with some kind of a, let's say, mentor that can help the companies to go through the process. So the first step is to make the assessment. So the assessment is done on the platform. The assessment is split into two steps. In the first step, the company has to provide some, let's say, basic information about the company in each of the four pillars. So the first questionnaire is 40 questions. 10 questions per each pillar. So the company will answer 10 questions about its innovation culture, 10 questions about the digitalization, 10 questions about the open innovation, and the 10 questions about the, let's say, the green aspects. And after these 10 questions in each pillar, the company will receive a short recommendation which aspect they should look more on, because the results will be given to the companies. And then the company can decide if they want to do another step of the assessment and go into more detailed questions, and or the company just wants to leave this, like the basic questionnaire. And the company can select if it wants to go deeper into all four pillars, or maybe there are some pillars that the company is not interested because, for instance, it's not a manufacturing company. So maybe the questions about digital manufacturing will not be suitable for that company. And after, the company will go through the second step of the analysis, our tool will provide a transformation scenario. So it is like a roadmap that will, first of all, show where the company has its strength in each of the pillars and where the company could have some kind of opportunities. So which are the places that the company can get more trainings or improve its skills. Also, our tool will show the companies or provide some more information what kind of trainings will be beneficial for the companies, or what kind of expert consultations will be beneficial for the companies, or maybe some kind of mentoring will be suitable. Of course, everything depends on the results of the analysis, because we have several levels, let's say, of the advancements in each pillar. So after the company receives this kind of transformation scenario, we can contact the company with a mentor that will, or the expert that will provide the individual support program. This individual support program is directly suited to each of the companies that will, of course, would like to take part in this process. And it will be based, or it is based on the results of the analysis. So the analysis is not just to, to gather some data and show them what kind of trainings they want, but it will also provide the information what could be the next step to be more advanced in this, let's say, challenges of the future. And of course, our project also provided some kind of basic trainings, provided some kind of mentoring. So we provided the companies that tested our solution with all of the solutions that we provide with our tool, let's say. And afterwards, the company can, based on the results, or we strongly advise it to maybe do once again the evaluation and see how it progressed did it really advance in the, let's say, pillars or not?
What were the biggest insights gained from testing of the SMERF Diagnosis Tool? By the way, it was tested out with more than 160 SMEs across Central Europe, which is a quite huge number.
Yeah, so actually we managed to make some more testing. So by now, I think it's 180 companies that took part. So the biggest thing that we see in the results is actually the outcome that we expected. So our consortium is from different countries, and at the beginning we thought that there are some countries that might lead in this, being ready for the future. So in our consortium we have Austria, Italy, and Germany, and looking at the results, they are actually few maybe small steps in front of the countries like Poland, Slovakia, Croatia, or Hungary. And in most of the results, in any of the levels of, regardless if it's innovation culture or is it digitalization, those three regions, so Austria, Italy, and Germany, they are actually a little bit more advanced. Also, what we saw is that more companies are advanced or are willing to be advanced in this green aspect. So being more sustainable in the future or have the more circular economy or green economy activities in the company than, for instance, the open innovation. This gives the impression that companies maybe are already aware about the requirements of the European Union, that we will have to be more green in general. And maybe we should educate more companies in terms of this open innovation or in general, the innovation culture in the company. So these were the things that I think, from our perspective, were the most interesting in this. So yeah, like the results that were, the most interesting.
Yeah, interesting findings.
Yeah.
Did you discover common challenges or differences between regions in the field of digitalization, open innovation, or sustainability? And what was the most challenging pillar from those four pillars for the SMEs to adopt?
So the most challenging on one hand was the digital manufacturing, but that was because not all of the companies were focused on manufacturing. And also not all of the companies that were focused on manufacturing were, let's say, advanced enough to have the digital practices. But our questionnaires were composed in a way that the company is using or at least knows about, let's say, the aspects of, let's say, digital manufacturing. So most of the companies, let's say, know about digital manufacturing, but not all of them are using one or even more elements. So in terms of the most challenging, I would say it is this digital manufacturing. The easiest one, I would say, is the innovation culture, because the culture is in every company. If it's more focused on or innovation, or it's more focused on fundamental, let's say, works in the company, it doesn't matter, but each of the company has its own innovation culture. The question is if it's advanced or not. And also you asked about the regions, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of regions, I haven't done that much analysis yet. We are still working on analyzing this huge Excel file that we received, because we had 180 companies and each company answered at least 40 or 60 questions. So there is a lot of data to be analyzed. But what we saw is that in terms of the digitalization, Germany and Poland is quite advanced. In terms of green aspects, it's again Austria, Germany, and Italy. And in terms of the innovation, if it is the open innovation or the innovation culture, still again it's the leading voice of Germany and Austria. Maybe it's because those countries have some kind of let's say, policies on the regional level to support innovation. And in some of the countries like Poland, Slovakia, it's developing right now, but it's not fully developed. Those kind of policies, the governmental policies or regional policies that will support especially small companies.
Perfect, thank you. The inspiration knowledge base collects actually best practices, success stories, training materials. What is, in your opinion, perceived as the most valuable for the SMEs?
So I think the most valuable for SMEs is the direct information that they can gather from the inspiration knowledge base. So if they are looking for some kind of information about the case studies, because the case studies also cover the four pillars. So if the company would like to have some kind of case study on, let's say, the green aspects of working in a daily life of the company, they can go to inspiration knowledge base and just to watch the video or read some kind of a short case study. So I would say the most convenient for companies is the easy access, as well just the gathering of the information in one place. Because from our experience, our group from Wrocław, we are working since 15 years in, let's say, this kind of topics. And we know that there is a lot of information, but they are not gathered in one place. So what we decided to do in this project is to have this one knowledge base that will gather everything, what you already mentioned. So the case studies, the webinars, the training materials, also the information about services that can be provided in the various regions of our project that's covered the 8 regions in Europe. So this kind of information, I think, are the most beneficial. So the companies can have easy access, and also that is quite, written in a way that could be understood in the easy ways, not maybe the academic language, because we know it's hard for companies to understand the university language. So we tried our best to make it the most available for companies as possible.
Yeah, you are right. Okay, so fragmented sources, yeah, and
Yeah.
better access. Okay, that's interesting. And besides online self-assessment and knowledge transfer, SMERF also organized in-person InnoGreen market and study visits for SMEs. Could you tell us a bit more about these events?
Yes. So the whole idea about those events was to create the matchmaking. So to bring the companies from different regions and also to bring companies that are small with companies that are big, or the companies that are least advanced in the pillars with the companies that already took some kind of a, let's say, path to be more ready for the future. That's why we decided to make it in two different ways. So one was the study visits, where we invited companies, especially SMEs, into bigger companies or to the universities to show the SMEs what they can expect in the future or what can be expected from them in the future. So the idea was to, first of all, to open their eyes, but also to make the connections, because now we know that in this world, the network is the most important thing. And the other way was to create this InnoGreen market. So we decided to bring companies or representatives from different regions to one event where they will meet with each other. And for here, I have a very good case study from the company from Poland. So there was a guy from Poland who is working on the cargo electric bikes, and he went to this InnoGreen market. He connected with several people that maybe they are not dealing with the same topics, but somehow they inspired him how he could transform his let's say daily operationals to create some kind of a or advanced product, or maybe even to shift into some kind of a business model. So Pavel, the owner of the company, he decided that first of all he will adapt new ideas into his currently running business, but also he saw a big potential in adding additional, let's say, point to his company. So he decided also to have additional services that he will provide and sell to other companies. So this InnoGreen market was a great experience where we connected people, and we connected them not only to connect them and that's it, but to bring something from this meeting. So people who were there, they somehow benefited by meeting other people, but also their companies benefited with some kind of this, let's say, open innovation, because it was sharing the ideas and sharing innovations with other and helping them to adapt their companies.
Yeah, I can also confirm that matchmaking and networking is really, really important. However, if I can say, companies from Slovakia are not so much used to utilize these opportunities, except of those most innovative, of course. So,
Well, I can also mention here that we found out that one of the biggest problems is the language, because not many, especially SMEs, not all of them speak English. So this sometimes was a problem when we want to do this matchmaking or connecting or networking. So the people were not eager to participate because they were afraid that they are not speaking enough good English. And me, when we convinced the companies that you don't have to be like, proficiency in English, they went to the events or for other matchmaking, they said, okay, it's not so important to speak perfect English. The most important thing is to just understand each other. So I think Poland and Slovakia have something in common in terms in this aspect.
okay, great. Very good point. Now, maybe one of my last question. Now that SMERF is concluding, what do you expect will be its lasting legacy? Will the tools, materials, and cooperation, these mentioned networks, continue beyond the project? And how can SMEs or stakeholders stay involved in this?
Yes, so sure. What we always want to do is to stay as open as possible, because we are dealing with open innovation. So we want to leave all of our, let's say, outputs and our key results open. So after the project end, of course, the SMERF Diagnosis Tool will be still available online. So the companies from whatever piece of world they would like to make the evaluation, it will still be available for the companies, as well as our inspiration knowledge base. It's still going to be available, of course, free of charge. So we want to provide the companies the results that are lasting. So we are trying not to never, let's say, close the tools. Also, most probably in terms of the consortium of the SMERF project, because with some of the partners we cooperate since several years, but we see this SMERF consortium is quite strong consortium. So most probably we will create another projects where we will develop the next steps of supporting SMEs. Maybe next step will be also supporting more startups, because we know that startups are sometimes even more important than the other SMEs or other companies that are already on the market, because startups usually need more, let's say, investment or more help to be more, let's say, agile and ready for the future. So we always want to cooperate. We always invite our networks into various activities. If it's scientific aspects or if it's more business-oriented aspects, we always want to extend our network, and we always try to provide our partners or ex-partners with the information what we are doing, and provide them with information about the new tools that we are developing in our projects. So this is our general approach of being open for the innovation.
Yeah, so it's still open and will be open and maybe advanced. Great to hear. It sounds perfect. So, if you found today's discussion interesting, the SMERF project shows that the transformation of small and medium-sized enterprises doesn't have to be a chaotic or unclear process. On the contrary, it can follow a structured pathway supported by practical tools, knowledge, and a strong network of partners helping companies make better decisions for the future. And if you would like to hear more about tools and results or opportunities connected with the SMERF project, then make sure to follow the project's upcoming activities and resources. Some links you can find also in the description of this podcast. So thank you very much, Joanna, for sharing these insights. Thank you all for listening, for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.